Like, yeah, you go.
It's Thursday, June 25th, 2020. I'm Tanya Harris, and welcome to TMI Daily, your daily roundup of everything people are talking about online since they aren't allowed to talk about it in person. In a 7-2 decision today, the Supreme Court ruled that immigrants who seek asylum, claiming they have credible fear of torture or death in their home country, cannot challenge deportation in a federal court. On the outside, that would seem like a win for the Trump administration, but with so fewer immigrants in the country, who will Trump have to blame for illegally voting against him in November? A new analysis says that Donald Trump has been claiming that the coronavirus is under control for 156 days now. Well, he's been saying that he's a great president for 1,241 days, so the man knows how to keep a good lie going. 156 days. Call me in 3 years. A widely respected coronavirus model predicts that 33,000 fewer people will die in the U.S. from coronavirus by October if 95% of the country wears masks. Oh, sure, 95% of the country. I wonder if I can invest in a funeral home. On The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, former Daily Show star Jon Stewart said that Joe Biden has one quality that America desperately needs right now: his understanding of pain and loss. I would have gone with he's not Trump, but understanding pain and loss is good, as long as he doesn't have to understand it on November 3rd. GM cut 700 jobs because of weak sales, being blamed on COVID-19. This is a huge relief for management at GM, who historically had to blame their weak sales on the cars they sold. Today, 3 Colorado Rockies players, along with at least 1 Detroit Tiger, 1 Boston Red Sox, and 2 more Seattle Mariners players tested positive for COVID-19. And yet, Major League Baseball still plans on starting the season in July. Looks like baseball is going to go from having a designated hitter to needing a designated carrier. The Dixie Chicks are dropping Dixie from their name and will simply be known as the Chicks. Following this news, Southern grocery store chain Winn-Dixie has decided to change their name to the more accurate Loser Dixie. Megyn Kelly called out NBC after it pulled 4 30 Rock episodes that contained blackface, which she herself was fired for defending the use of. While blackface is indefensible, at least the other 134 30 Rock episodes without it got decent ratings. Unlike you, Megyn. Here's some good news that's needed. Kristen Bell has decided to no longer voice a mixed-race character on Apple TV Plus's animated series, Central Park. This brings great comfort to anyone who knew there was an Apple TV Plus and that they had an animated show called Central Park on it. In an interview, Dennis Quaid said that the 39-year age difference between him and his new bride, Laura Savoy, just never comes up. Oh, Dennis, it comes up probably about 10 seconds after you and her leave a room. Now, let's send it over to tonight's TMI Daily Cast and Crew Roundtable. Stay safe.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of TMI Daily. I'm Veronica Aiello, and as always, I'm joined by my friends and family members from TMI Hollywood. Let's say hello to everyone watching or listening online to our podcast. Let's start with you, Elizabeth.
Hi, wear a damn mask.
Dana.
Hi, mask isn't just a movie.
Chris.
Hi, I'm winking at you for those who can see me, and those who can't, just imagine how sexy it is.
Joe?
Hi, everyone. Wear a mask, even if you're pretty.
Very good advice, Joe. Emma?
Hey, everyone. Please just fucking wear a mask. Jesus H. Christ.
And Stuart?
How's it going?
Okay, so let's get started. Speaking about masks, a well-respected predictive model came out today claiming that the U.S. death total from coronavirus by October 1st will be at 179,000 people. The study also claims that if 95% of the U.S. began wearing masks in daily life, that would cause the number to drop by 33,000 deaths to 146,000. Firstly, do you think there is any chance 95% of Americans will agree to do anything, let alone wear a mask? Elizabeth.
I no, because I said it yesterday. We're a stupid, selfish country that way, where it's just anything collective is bad. We're just individual to a fault, and nobody wants to do anything for anybody else. You don't owe anyone anything. That's the whole attitude people have. And I saw something that I can't remember who tweeted it, but they were like, I will never forgive whoever, the officials who said back in March, don't worry about masks, you don't really need them, because it's just absolutely screwed over any call to wear masks now, because people are like, well, they said we didn't have to at the beginning, everything was worse at the beginning, so we don't have to now. And now we're just stuck in this, like, people throwing tantrums over a really simple ask.
Stuart?
The only way 95% of Americans would wear masks is if ISIS took responsibility for coronavirus. That's it. There's no way that something as invisible an enemy as coronavirus is going to get people to agree on a 95% basis.
Okay, anybody else? Joe.
Here's a really great idea. Offer a $100,000 prize to one random American that's going to be caught wearing their mask. We won't tell you when, we won't tell you where. If you want to win $100,000, make sure you're wearing your mask. Maybe that might work.
Idea. Emma?
I actually really like that idea, Joe. I think,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I'm in.
Let's get Jeff Bezos to put up the money. I think he can do it.
I mean, the way we are right now, we are individualist enough that unless we can see a way it benefits us, that might work. But
Yeah.
and it's frustrating because I do look back at American history at a time like World War II, where, don't get me wrong, there were problems throughout the United States, but the country as a whole, all the people were fairly good at coming together and, like, being okay with rationing things like milk and steel, and, like, planting their victory gardens and, doing what they had to for the war effort. And it's not, like, impossible throughout American history. It's just that that's not happening right now. And if we had the right leader, maybe we could, but we don't.
Okay, Shayna?
I agree with you, Emma. I agree with the fact that, we could be better at this and following the rules and everything. The thing is that I think that most of us won't follow instruction for an extended period of time, because most of the people aren't wearing masks because they're tired. They're like, they feel like this should be over. You know what I mean? Like, I'm done with COVID. I want it to be something else now. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they understand that it's like, it's not going to end unless you wear a mask. I think people think that everything can go back to normal the more that they outwardly look like themselves. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And I think that because I see people on my block even when I'm walking my dog, and I'm by myself and I have my mask on, and a neighbor told me yesterday, you don't have to wear a mask when you're by yourself. And I was like, well, you kind of have to wear a mask all the time when you're outside with people. I'm breathing, right? And he was like, I don't get what you mean. And I was like, I just don't think some people understand the actual science of how things work, how the germs are spread, how things can be done. I really do think that there's a limit on what people's capacity of understanding the actual science is.
So do you think some people are in denial, Shane, by you saying, you know, that some people are just like over it? They're like, oh, you know,
I think some people are in denial about it, but I also think that some people, because they have yet to be affected by this virus, meaning they don't directly know somebody who has COVID, it's a mysterious it's a mysterious vapor. You know what I mean? Like, it's lurking, but I've never seen it. I don't know what it really does except for what I've seen in TV. Or, I mean, that's what it, you know what I'm saying? It's an unknown factor for most people, which is very fortunate, which means we've been doing our job by keeping them away from it. But now that people are being more and more wanting to be less and less at home, even though the stay-at-home order is still in effect, and the government is basically giving us money to sit here at home. If you're on unemployment, that's what they're doing. Part of the deal is you stay home, and the other part is that you wear a mask. If you're accepting unemployment, those are the two things the government is asking you to do right now with the stay-at-home order. That's the only two things they're asking you to do.
Exactly. And, you know, really quick, do you guys remember our friend Marek? He was on the health professional and then he got COVID. So he told us a story a couple of weeks ago, and he said that he was walking to the market in New York, right down the street from his house. And, you know, he was wearing his mask, and there was an older woman who was walking towards him who wasn't wearing a mask. And he said he just got so frustrated that he wanted like to go up to her and shake her, saying, you know, I had COVID, like I could give it to you. And, you know, but I'm protecting myself and I'm wearing the mask. He goes, it's just, you just don't know who you're going to come in contact with. You know, so he was wearing that mask to protect other people. But, you know, he just said that he couldn't believe it. He says, I really wanted to go up to her and tell her that, you know. Joe.
All right, to go off of what Emma said, and I agree, but Emma, when we had World War II, people really weren't on board until Japan attacked us. And that was the thing. That was like the thing that brought everyone together. I would like to talk about how we've tried, how many years it took to get people to wear seatbelts in the car. That was a good 10 years. 10 years! And what it was either over those 10 years, every single person ended up having somebody close to them die in a car accident, or they got enough tickets that they finally did it. I mean, it was kicking and screaming. And I don't even want to get started about how we tried. I don't know if you know this. We tried in the mid and late 70s to switch over to metric to be like everybody else in the world. And man, that didn't go well either because people went bananas on that. So maybe Stewart has a point of like, tell them that it's from ISIS, you know, because the only way you're going to get people wearing masks is to have somebody close to them die or get the disease so bad. Or like that, like this family from Texas that had a surprise birthday party and now 18 members of them have COVID.
Yeah.
Stuff like that is the thing that's going to do it. And I hate to say it, we don't have enough time because that's going to take a lot longer than what we actually need to have happen.
Yeah, like that family that you're talking about, I read that article this morning, and it just goes back to my frustration again. Did you really have to have that surprise party, you know, because somebody was turning 30? Like, are we too spoiled in this country? Is that what it is? Do we have, you know, I think that is. I see that as a problem. Like, oh my gosh, you know, how are we not going to celebrate a 30th fucking birthday? My God, you know, it's so frustrating. And now you see the consequences with that family. You know, I think, is it the grandparents that are not doing very well, the older people that got it from them? It's a heartbreaking story, but at the same time, you know, it makes me very angry.
Surprise!
Something that could have been avoided. Again, if you're going to work, that's one thing. If you're a frontline worker, if you work at a grocery store, that's different. You have to do that and you protect yourself. But to have a party, it's senseless. Emma.
So the point that I was going for before is more that the United States is capable of collectivism. It's not that we are inherently incapable of it. And I think that the point that I should have made before is that a lot of it also comes down to our leader. For instance, you know, it is difficult when it doesn't affect you personally. Back the last time that we had a flu, like a pandemic like this, the 1918 flu, there was also like anti-mask leagues and people just didn't want to do it. Like that also happened and it was terrible. But I think one of the things that brought us together in World War II and in a lot of the other instances where we've had things like this is that we had a leader who knew the words to say to bring Americans together, who knew how to say, like, who knew how to make us feel good about doing the right thing. And if you had a more competent leader who cared more about like the people as opposed to divisiveness and winning, you would have had someone who went up there and said, it's time for each of us to be heroes and like turned it into a heroic act, wearing a mask, as opposed to a selfless one. So it's like, it's something that we feel good about. something that does give someone the personal, like, selfish joy of doing something for someone. The point I'm going for is that it's not impossible if we had different leadership. It seems unlikely right now, but maybe for the second wave in November.
Yeah. Elizabeth?
Oh, sorry, Stu can go ahead of me because I think he was waiting.
Oh, I just one quick thing on commenting on what Shanna said. The thing of, like, if you are completely alone outside, you don't need to wear a mask until you get at all remotely close to anyone. The COVID particles fall due to gravity, but
I understand that, Stuart. I just wear it because I'm like,
right,
you
exactly.
just wear
and that's
it.
The thing,
encourage people to wear it. The
there's
more
also,
people that they see people wearing it, maybe they'll wear it.
There's also no reason. There's no downside to wearing a mask. Like, it doesn't, like, yes, it's maybe a little uncomfortable, but it doesn't actually have any ill effects on anyone. That's another thing I think. The alternative is just being uncomfortable. That's it.
Hey, Elizabeth, did you want to say something?
Oh, well, I just wanted to comment too, sort of on the whole spoiled thing. And we are super spoiled, like, to a ridiculous point that being mildly uncomfortable for what, and being out and about, let's say you're out for a couple hours running errands, that being mildly uncomfortable in a mask for that is so oppressive that people are, like, losing their minds in town hall meetings and, like, crying and wailing over. It's ridiculous. Like, heaven forbid you experience mild discomfort. And I've seen people who try to claim, somebody I know posted,
I wonder how comfortable a ventilator is, Elizabeth.
Exactly.
Versus, like, how comfortable a mask is. That's my question for those people.
That's my question too, because somebody posted something that I know from, like, high school or whatever on their Facebook. It was like, oh, masks aren't OSHA approved, so you can barely breathe and they're gonna suffocate you. And then every other doctor thing I've seen has been like, no, put the pulse ox thing on and breathe. You're not being suffocated by a mask, especially not just the simple fabric masks that people are being asked to wear. But yeah, just that's the frustrating thing. And to Emma's point about, we are capable of collectivism, but I think we don't want to be anymore. I think we got very hung up on that starting in, like, the 50s because everybody got terrified of communism. So anything collective is inherently kind of bad to us in a weird way. Like, well, once you do something collective, then everything gets taken away. And it's like, no, you're just, we always ask people to come together in times of tragedy for, like, natural disasters or 9/11 or things like that. But then as soon as we're able to, we go right back to just not giving a fuck about anybody else. And it's really upsetting.
Very upsetting and selfish too.
Yeah.
Okay, Joe, and then I'm going to go on to the next question.
Has anyone? I don't know. I posted this yesterday on my social media, but actually, people have come up with fake cards.
Yeah.
The government has had put a warning out because they have these fake cards that say, "I'm, member of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and you're violating my rights." And the government had to put a notice out that says, "No, this card doesn't exist." And then they showed how to know what the card is, and they showed the, like, 5 misspellings in it. But I went to show, like, I have a card that I don't have to wear a mask is the fake circus animal of 20.
Yes.
It's like you got the card at Dollar Tree.
No, they print it and then they laminate it and all that. But the government's like, this card doesn't exist. They had to actually send this out to stores, which I think is crazy.
And if you haven't seen it, they have it online everywhere. Yeah. If you haven't seen them, they are ridiculous.
Can you get those cards at Spencer's Gifts next to the, like, FBI federal bikini inspector?
No, I can't wait till it's going to be a novelty soon. Like, that's going to be something you can buy.
It's actually female body inspector.
A female.
Female body.
Thank you.
Okay, so an Access poll came out yesterday claiming that 65% of Democrats say they wear a mask whenever they leave their homes, while only 35% of Republicans say they wear masks. Can this sharp divide in parties be blamed directly on Donald Trump and his refusal to wear masks, or are there other factors you believe that cause Republicans to be less concerned with mask use? Chris.
You could say that part of it is Donald Trump, but it's also, I think, it's also a situation of like, because of how new this virus is and like how information keeps changing, it like we talked about earlier, it kind of makes it a, makes people believe that it's not a real thing because information keeps changing. One minute they said asymptomatic people can still pass on the virus. Now they're saying it's very rare. Yeah, first they said it spreads and stays on surfaces for 2 weeks. Now they're saying it dies in like 2 hours. So like it's the with the information changing so constantly, but and people not really, and us being not being a very scientific oriented country. We're mostly based in religion. So when you got that being the base of like people believing things and not really being science, it's like a lot of people are going to believe that with all the information changing, that it's just a hoax or that people are lying to us, or they're just trying to, congregate fear and all this other stuff. So like that is, I think that's being really the most thing that's going to keep people from wearing masks, is that we keep getting new information or different information than what we had before. But if people don't understand that a virus like this, we're gonna discover new things, just like the same thing with the flu and the measles and any other fucking disease and symptoms that we cured in the past. Like we learn new things about it. I mean, we're still learning things about cancer. So it's not like people are like, no, cancer ain't real. That's bullshit. Like the evidence is there. People are dying from cancer. And we know there's different forms of cancer and different parts of your body can get it. Yet these people hear these, like, it's the same situation where you hear people are dying from COVID and they're like, nah, bullshit.
Stuart?
I mean, I don't think it's just Donald Trump, but I think Republican politicians as a whole have absolutely responded to this differently than Democrats. Mm-hmm. I saw a study today about analyzing the tweets from Democratic politicians and Republican politicians. And Republican politicians use the phrases United States, togetherness, and like unity and business more than Democrats, who used less fortunate, public health, and crisis. So the response has been different across partisan.
Well, and we can't forget, the wonderful Matt Gaetz when he came out wearing that gas mask, mocking this whole thing. So yeah, no, definitely. There was also an analysis that came out today saying that Trump has been saying that this has been under control for 156 days straight. So that's concerning too, I think. Yeah, Elizabeth, and then I'll go to Joe. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Well, Trump notoriously did not wear a mask at a mask making facility facing over the production line, and then they had to throw out all the masks because that was a violation of their of the basic health code policies that went into making masks. Everybody said it before. I think it definitely comes down to Trump refusing to set the example, because I think if he put one on and was like, oh, we gotta wear these, people would be like, well, all right, or at least a certain subset would be more into it. But yeah, and I find it ironic that so many people who, if not voted for him or at least maybe more conservative, are acting like being asked to wear the mask is a ploy by the government. But this is like the government you elected. Your like Republican leaders are in charge, so you're thinking that they're trying to. You wanted them because you considered all things, liberal and democratic tyranny and terrible, but now you're convinced that the same government that you chose is forcing you to wear a mask to control you in the first place. I can't wrap my mind around that. I can't take that ball any further over the line, so to speak, because I just don't get it. But yeah, and we stopped trusting experts in this country for some godforsaken reason. I'll never know, like with anti-vax stuff, and the irony now too is people are like, wow, it'd be great if there was like a shot or something you could take for COVID, or like some pills or something that would just knock it out and make you immune. And everyone's like, that's a vaccine. It's a vaccine, you idiot. Like that's the very thing you keep refusing to do to help your kids out. It's just so goddamn stupid. I can't take it.
Just to your point, Elizabeth, about them throwing out those masks when Trump visited the facility, they also threw out a bunch of swabs too.
Yeah,
he was playing with them like a kid plays with
breathing over them, and
yeah. Okay, Joe, you wanted to say something.
Yeah. Listen, Trump is part of this, but it actually, I think it's something that's deeper. Seeds that have been planted a long time ago, and I think that goes back to the Republican as a whole planting these seeds about having a distrust for the media, so that when the media comes out with all of this right away, it's I don't want to believe it, or something's not right about it. Elizabeth's also right about not wanting to believe experts because they put the experts on the media, and that's part of it. Something everyone should read a book called The Death of Expertise. It's been around for a little while, but I really suggest everybody read it. It's so eye-opening about how we have gone away from listening to experts and then just kind of making up our own shit. And it's really crazy. But yeah, I think, Trump really exacerbated the whole distrust of media thing. But that's been around for a long time. And those seeds have been planted far enough along that's why you're seeing a 35% right now.
Okay, one last comment, and then I'm going to move on. Shayna.
I was going to say, I think if you partner what Joe was saying with the fact that also African Americans don't trust the government, and the government is saying wear masks, because the African American population has been victimized by science and the government for many years prior to this. So you also have to add that into the mix with our populace as well. So people who grew up with that kind of knowledge, you put those two together and it's like, okay, you've got one group of people that's like, I want more freedom. And then another group of people that's like, fuck the government. And then that gives a good base of population that's not wearing a mask. And those are the reasons why,
Okay, so yesterday, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said he would not require Floridians to wear masks because there was no way to enforce it. Is he right about that? Let me just put something into perspective. When 3,500 people were killed on September 11th, the country screamed for justice and retribution. By not wearing a mask, we're talking about potentially 30,000 deaths in just over 3 months. Would anyone here have a problem if not wearing a mask through the end of this pandemic became a jailable crime? Now, remember, the mask isn't for your protection, but it's for everybody else's protection. Stuart.
Well, the problem is right now is jails and prisons aren't safe either because they're too closely together. So putting more people in jail and prison right now is obviously a terrible idea. I do think it should be a criminal offense, and I think it should be a hefty fine. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he thinks it's not enforceable is, I mean, the same politicians that refuse to defund the police because they're like, oh, law and order, we need to be tough on crime. Are like, oh, yeah, we can't enforce laws, so I guess we shouldn't have them.
Okay, Elizabeth.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think jailable would be maybe overkill, but definitely finable. Like, you get the click it or ticket thing, you get fined for not wearing a seatbelt, or texting or whatever while you're driving. The only problem with enacting that is I think we saw in like Central Park when officers came around to be like, hey, stop hanging out in groups and stuff like that. They were targeting minority groups way more and using aggression versus like white people chilling on, beach blankets were like, hey, do you mind just scooting out of here? Okay, thanks, and a black or brown person who's also doing the exact same thing, they're like, time to slap cuffs on you because we're the fucking police and we have no sense of actual justice. So that's my only concern, is like that it wouldn't be enforced properly for people, because I'm sorry, the majority of people I see refusing to wear masks are white, and I don't see them suffering the same consequences or fines.
Let me ask you guys
safely, very equitably.
Yeah, is not wearing a mask any different than getting behind the wheel of a car while intoxicated? Can you equate both scenarios? Any thought?
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead, Elizabeth.
I feel bad because everybody's got their hands raised. I'll be quick. I mean, potentially, because you're knowingly doing, they've said it, and it's been shown. You're knowingly doing something that puts other people in harm's way. Yeah. So it may be certainly not on quite the same level, because you can theoretically recover from COVID if you're lucky or get treated well enough. It's not quite the same death sentence as crashing into somebody with a car, but it's not too far off.
Okay, Joe?
Okay, let's take jail completely off the table. making it a jailable offense, I think, is going against basically kind of what we're talking about right now with the way police are acting.
Yeah.
It's not a violent crime, so but I will say this: it definitely should be, I would say, a monetary fine. I mean, you know, maybe even have a privilege like when you're drunk driving and you lose your license. You know, you could do that privilege that way. I don't think that jail is the right thing for it, but I do think that, you know, and especially since we are talking about mostly stubborn white people and all that when you take their money, that hits them the hardest. That's the way to hit them right in the heart. So I would say definitely make it a fine. I say make it a hefty fine. You know, and you know what? It isn't that far off from driving drunk, because driving drunk has a potential of killing somebody, injuring somebody, or things like that. And you're doing the same thing with not wearing a mask. So yes, I'd equate them the same way. And you know, hey, hit them where it hurts, in the wallet.
Okay, Emma, and then I'll go to Shayna.
I'm going to start this off by saying that I don't know what the answer is. But I am always concerned about fines, especially because COVID is so much more prevalent among the working class, people of color, people who don't have that much money in the first place. And what a fine means effectively is that it's legal for rich people. A fine is going to affect someone who, you know, is working class, has to go to work as an essential worker, but maybe doesn't believe the government. It's going to hit them much harder than it's going to hit some rich white person who doesn't want to. Not that I know what the answer is to enforce wearing a mask. There should be something probably, but that would be like my only concern, is who it would affect and how badly it would affect them.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Okay, Shayna.
Well, maybe it's like moving violations, where you can go and take a class and do this other stuff, you know, instead of paying the fine. Or you can pay a less amount of fine by doing an 8-hour science class or whatever. I don't know. I also don't know the exact answer, but maybe there's a way that judges can work around, because I agree with you, Emma. That was my concern, is that this fines always put people who have not economic means in a bad place if they get fined, and they're the ones who get caught more because they're out and about more and seen more on the street. So I agree with you there on that point. I think that if we should maybe there's got to be some kind of something. I definitely think there should be something enforceable, but it is all of these Republican governors, they're also not wearing masks. So I think that that's another way that they're encouraging people on a more local level that it's not a real thing, because they're following suit with, you know, Big D. So
what about like taking people, you know, that don't want to wear masks, like for example, like to a hospital to see, you know, the effects of, you know, COVID on someone that's, you know,
right, or have to do volunteering, like service work or something like that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, in exchange. Because I still believe that, and I've said that since the beginning. COVID is, unless people are touched by it, until someone is touched by it, they're not going to change. They're not going to want to, or they've had health risks, or, you know, they know that how dangerous it can be for you to get sick because you're already a pre-existing condition yourself. So when you have those are the people who are adhering to the rules, because they're like, I don't want to die. I already fought to live. I don't want to freaking die because of some bullshit mask thing. You know what I mean? So it's like, those are the people who are already in. And a lot of people are saying it's a mind control thing. I've seen that posted a lot too, that because you're wearing a mask, you've given into the government and you are more susceptible to mind control because you are a mask wearer, which I also think is perpetuating like this whole, you know, tint on top of it, where it's like, okay, I'm not simple-minded because I want to save myself as well.
Okay, so we're running out of time, so I want to move on to our next segment. It's time for today's Just One Question. I'm going to pick some of the topics from the top of the show and ask you one question about that topic. After Tina Fey requested that 4 episodes of 30 Rock be pulled from syndication due to them containing characters in blackface, Megyn Kelly came out against NBC, who aired the show, for firing her for defending black-faced Halloween costumes. So my question is airing a TV show that has characters in blackface as bad or worse than someone on a news program defending blackface? Chris.
No, it's not. It's completely different because here's the thing. Okay, 30 Rock, when they were doing it, they were one making fun of blackface, and two, there was no ill intention behind it. But when you're out there defending blackface as something that's like culture, okay, stop. Like now you're literally defending racism. You're literally saying, "Hey, listen, we're Americans. It's okay to make fun of black people like this. Like we're good, right? This is our culture. We have the right to you know disrespect an entire race of people. That's what is our right. So yeah, it's completely different than doing it to show the ignorance of it than to say like, oh, this is something we should be proud of. It's completely ridiculous. And I mean, they should air it for sure. Like because you listen, if you are going to fire somebody for defending it, you might as well take the episodes off so that way there's no room for somebody to come out like Megan Kelly and be like, oh, what the fuck? Like this is not fair. So you should take it off though. That's how I feel.
Okay, Stuart.
Well, I am kind of surprised that Tina Fey asked for them to be taken down. There's a difference between being an actor in blackface and a actor playing a white character in blackface. It's why, I mean, Robert Downey Jr.'s in Tropic Thunder is another good example. That they're not, it like it wasn't John Hamm wasn't in blackface. He was playing a character who was in blackface. That is a significant distinction in my mind.
Okay. Shayna, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that the blackface, I agree with you, Chris. The blackface on 30 Rock they were making fun of the institution that created the blackface to begin with. And and I think that that's it. Let's move on. Sorry.
That's okay. Okay, moving on. In the last 7 days, over a dozen Major League Baseball players have been tested positive for COVID-19, along with 19 NBA players, at least 3 NFL players, and the #1 tennis player in the world, Novak Djokovic. Today, the NFL decided to cancel its Hall of Fame ceremony and game in August, and are now considering delaying their season. I know yesterday we were talking about people being happy that baseball